Hello, everyone. It's Carolyn with Stamping Cards here along with Janice with JT Stamps. We're
Hi.
we're two Canadian demonstrators, and we just want to get together with each other and with you and stamp and have fun stamping. So this is episode 4 of our series together. I'm a Canadian demonstrator, but our family is working and living in Germany for the next couple of years. And Janice, you want to say where you're located?
Yes, I'm in Acton, Ontario.
Fantastic. So we try to coordinate what we do. So this week, episode 4, we're going to both use the Peaceful Deer stamp set. And so you're going to get 2 different views or 2 different cards utilizing the Peaceful Deer stamp set. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight my desktop here in Germany. Can everybody see that?
I can see it.
Awesome. So as I was saying, we are going to be both using the Peaceful Deer stamp set today, and you got a really different, we came up with 2 very different cards, but they're both gorgeous. You're going to love this. So stick with us as we stamp together. The first thing I'm going to do is walk you through the annual catalog and where you can find and order the Peaceful Deer stamp set. And that is going to be on page 42 here on this side. It is regular price $30. And I think our stamp sets are on till November the 18th on sale. So check that out if you do watch the video before November the 18th. So
15%, right?
Yeah, 15% off any stamp set except Hostess stamp sets in this catalog. I'm also going to flip back to the back of the catalog on page 128 and point out a few things that I'm going to be using during my presentation and stamping with you today. I'm heat embossing, so you need the heat tool, which is number 7 on page 128. I am also going to be using embossing powders, and that's number 4 item. It comes in 2 sets of 3. So you can either order the basics, which will get you the black, clear, and white embossing powders. And they come in these little tubs that you can see here. That's what that is. Or you can get a set of metallics, which is copper, gold, and silver. So for tonight, I'm going to be using our white embossing powder, and that would be included in your basics set. And then the heat tool, of course, is important when you are heat embossing. And then over on the other side, page 129, when you're heat embossing, you need a special stamp pad called the Versamark pad, and that number 3 is what you would need. It's clear, it's sticky, so when you stamp into this stamp pad, use the embossing powders, shake it all off, then use the heat tool to heat it all up, and then it becomes permanent on your card or whatever you're making. I'm also going to be using a technique called ink blending tonight. And let me see if I can get this so you can see it. I'm going to be using these blending brushes, which is item number 7, and you get a set of 3 of them for $17. What else did I mark here? I don't know why I marked this. Oh, you always use a chamois. Some of these are, oh, this is why. I need to write these things down. I'm using masking paper as well, which is number 9 with my ink blending. And watch that portion carefully because I have some tips on how to use our new masking paper. And neither of us are using the punch tonight, but there is a coordinating punch called Deer Builder on page 154. That goes along with the Peaceful Deer stamp set. For stamps from this set, I'm going to be using the small fawn. I'm also going to be using Sending Love and Peace and some of the trees in my card today. Here's a sneak peek of my card. And for my sentiment, I'm using this one from the Very Best Occasions. And that is currently in our holiday catalog, right, Janice? If I remember. Yeah,
you're right.
Okay, so that's our product and our catalog walkthrough. I'm using our layering circles dies. I used about the 3rd or maybe 4th size up because it was in this one. So I used this one, which measures 1 5/8, if I remember correctly, but I do have that written down. So I'll show you that in a second. This is our masking paper, and you get 12 sheets in a size that is 5 by 7. And you get all of that for $9.75. And here's the card I'm going to be making today.
That's gorgeous. I love it.
Isn't it pretty?
Beautiful.
Can you see the little sparkles that I put on there
Yeah,
at the top?
like the stars in the
Oh,
sky. That's
very good.
gorgeous.
So that's just a Wink of Stella pin. So I'll put that off to the side and show you all the pieces of card stock that we're using. So I'm using Starry Sky, which is one of our new in colors for the base. I'm also going to be using that as one of our ink colors. So this is an 8.5 by 5.5 sheet, and you want to score in the middle so you can fold that card. And in the middle of 8.5, of course, is 4 1/4. Our 3 pieces of basic white are going to measure 5 by 3 3/4, 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. You want to have a scrap for stamping on. It can be any size as long as it fits that small fawn stamp. And then your layering piece inside your card is going to be 4 by 5 1/4. You also want a piece of basic black that is about 1 by 2 1/4 inches long. And I have 2 here just in case I make a mistake while I'm heat embossing. And then these are pieces of our masking paper. You only need 2. I just have some extra circles cut out just in case I do a boo-boo, make a mistake, whatever. So yeah, so that circle does measure across the widest part 1 by 5/8 of an inch. And then I have a piece that's going to be larger. I have to line up all my pieces. So the largest piece is going to go on the inside of my card, and then that's going to be a liner. So I'm not stamping on either one of those right now. I'm putting them off to the side. And then this is our panel piece that we're going to ink blend on. And then this piece is part of that mask, and I'm going to make a little hill on our main panel. My inks are going to be Balmy Blue, Starry Sky, Memento Tuxedo Black, and of course, the Versamark when we are heat embossing. So I hope you got all those measurements. If not, I can make sure I put them in the link for you. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do, not do the ink blending, put that up here for a second. I think I'll get all the pieces together. So I'll start with my heat embossing of my sentiment and coloring and stamping my fawn. Now my fawn, I just want it to be kind of subtle. So I didn't want to stamp in a basic black. I'm going to stamp in soft suede. So this is a photopolymer stamp set. And so I want my Stampin' Pierce mat, which is here, because that gives a little bit of give and foam underneath when you're using those photopolymer stamps. It needs that for a nice clear, crisp image. So I'm just going to stamp down and straight up. Stamp some of that ink off on my scrap paper. Close up your ink pad like that. And we're done with that one. And then I'm going to pull in some blends. I have dark and light crumb cake. I also have our set of bronze and ivory that I'm going to use to color this little fawn. And then I'm also going to do a little cute technique with a Signo gel pen. We don't sell these anymore. We did at one time, and but it adds a cute little detail. So any white gel pen will do for that. Okay, it's so tiny, this little image, that I just used the bullet point end. And I'm just going to do this whole deer with a coat of the light crumb cake, which doesn't take long to color at all. You don't have to be fussy about having lines or anything. The only thing I didn't color was the tail. I'm going to let it be a white-tailed deer and leave that white. And then we use the bullet end of the dark crumb cake and just go along the edge. And I usually don't draw lines. I usually do like little, I don't know what to say, little strokes, I guess, along. So I'm not laying down a hard, harsh line right away. I'm already giving it an opportunity to kind of feather and blend a little bit. Not doing too much with the dark because it is a fawn and they're usually lighter, right? Doesn't matter too much if you go outside the lines a little bit because you're going to cut this out anyway. I'm going to use my nice paper snips for that. So I'm going back over where I colored with the light crumb cake, giving a little extra just solution on there. So it blends a little bit more. Do you usually go back over it, Janice?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I do as well. So I find it just helps it blend a
Harsh
little bit.
line. It does,
And then
yeah.
if you want any areas to have an extra layer of color or depth of color, you can just go in with that bronze. And so I really just put some soft dots in a few places where I think it might be a bit darker. Kind of at the bottom, at the corner, just kind of like little edge bits. Maybe a little bit under here, under the chin where it would be in shadow. And then I go crazy and I pull in the ivory. It doesn't add a lot of color. I'll show you on the white what color that ivory is. It has a little bit. So I just kind of go back over the bronze to blend it out. It does bring in a little bit of color, but I like that because it's not flat, just crumb cake. It's lots of different shades. And sometimes I'll put it in the cheek and in the ear. And that just pulls in a lighter color. I don't know if you can see that. I'll pull it up to the camera a little bit because, see if you can see it. My lighting is a little bit. Yeah, it's cute. So I am going to not put you through the painful process of watching me cut that out with my paper snips. I have one ready on the side, ready to go. So there it is. And we'll use, oh, I forgot to show the little trick. Just noticed. And I'm doing it now so it has a chance to dry. I'm going to use the white gel pen. And fawns have little white dots, don't they? And I'm just going in like little circles, kind of on their bum. And there, you're going to give that a chance to dry.
Yep. And
it's going to have those little dots. So put that aside and let it dry. And that's why you would want a white gel pen. And I'll put all of those blends aside. I'm now going to keep my Stampin' Pad in place and pull up one of those black pieces that was only 1 inch wide. I'm going to use my embossing buddy. And the powder does, oh, better clean up that end, stick onto the paper, but you can kind of brush that away after. I'm going to pull in my Versamark pad. And the sentiment for the front that I'm using from this stamp set says, sending love and peace this season. So the hard part is making sure this goes on straight and in the middle. So you just want to press straight down and it's going to stick. And there you go. I'm done with that stamp and the Versamark pad as well. Side, but I am going to pull in my white embossing powder. And I keep mine in this tub because it comes in those little tiny tubs that I showed you before in the catalog. It's not convenient for me to be trying to put everything back into that tub. So I just sprinkle the powder over, give it a little tap, and look to make sure there's no extra powder anywhere where you don't want it. Feel like it is. And I'll just put that down for a second. I see some powder over there. All right, cover up or close on my powder, knock everything over, and pull in my heat gun, which I always show upside down because I'm a lefty. So this is our heat gun, and just bear with me. This is not going to take very long to heat up at all. And I'll just try and hold it so I don't burn my fingers, first of all. But you might be able to see when the embossing powder starts to turn shiny and loses that opaque look. Let me just turn around because I am burning my fingers.
You need tweezers for that.
I do. I'm sure I have some somewhere, Janice, just, you know, finding it on the fly. Okay.
Exactly.
So got that done. And now that it's all dry and I've got the embossing all done, you can wipe over top to get some of that white powder that was there. I even have a paper towel. You can just wipe some of that dust and powder that came off the embossing buddy. But the embossing buddy helps because it doesn't let the powder settle on the paper anywhere else. It will only hopefully stick to your cardstock or your stamp, I should say. So I'm going to flag one end, and to do that, I'm just going to cut down the middle, and then from each corner to the end of that cut, and then you should have an even flag if I've done this correctly. There we go. So then your flag looks even. I might even that up a little bit. See a little point there. There, that's better. I like that better. So now that's ready to go on our card. So we've got the deer done. We've got our sentiment done. Now it is time to do some stamping. I don't need this right now. When I'm blending, I'll show you what I do with the mask. So my top tips for our masking paper, you're gonna like think I'm crazy, but the adhesive is almost too good. It's almost too strong. So I'm going to put it on my clothes. I'm going to put it on my hand a little bit just to loosen up that adhesive, because if you use it and you put it on your cardstock as it is, it's too strong. It's going to actually rip your paper. So I'm going to put the circle pretty close to the top of my paper and about maybe a ½ an inch from the side. And this mask is going to act like the moon. This is going to be the moon in my piece. The moon is not going to have any ink on it whatsoever. I'm going to find my scrap piece. And then you want to mask for the hill. The first thing I'm going to do is just rip that masking paper towards me. And you can see the backing is still kind of staying on there. That's okay. I think I'm going to come down a little bit more on this side. And it's wider than your paper anyway. So let me take the backing off and see what that looks like. So this is our mask for our hill. And I only want that little hill to be not too far below our moon. So you're kind of looking off into the distance. But before I put this on my paper, I'm going to put it on my arm. I'm going to lift it up, and I'm going to do it again, because that adhesive is strong. It tore my paper. I was not happy, but it also stayed in place. So if you need really crisp lines like you need on the moon, it's going to work perfectly. So even when I'm like pressing down on it, I'm not going all over that middle part, because I don't want to risk tearing the paper. So now that I have that done, I'm going to turn it sideways just so I can access it more easily with my blending brushes. So I have 2 blending brushes. One I'm going to use with the light blue, which is balmy blue, and one I'm going to use with my darker blue, which is starry sky. And so I've got my circle on here. I'm going to run my thumb around the edge just to make sure I've got that edge securely in there. I'm going to pop open my balmy blue ink pad, and then I'm just going to pick up some ink by running it in a circle. Turn that around. So maybe you can read the balmy blue. So then you're just going to start in a circular motion and bring that balmy blue into and onto your paper. You want to start off the paper and come in. You can do this fairly quickly, coming over to where the moon is. Doesn't matter if you get ink on that moon because that's a mask. We're going to take that off afterward anyway. I want a pretty good layer of the balmy blue, but because this is the sky, some white areas are okay to leave as well, because that will just look like clouds eventually. So maybe I'll just do 1 or 2 more passes. I want a good ring around the moon, so I'll do that until I like the color. Maybe just a little bit more on this corner. And that's it. Then I'm going to leave it with the balmy blue. In fact, I'll close up my balmy blue for a second and move that over. And I'll pull in the starry sky. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm not going to go as close to the moon. I want that some of that balmy blue ink to be showing around the moon and the rest to look like the sky. So bring it in, starting off in a circular motion again. I might do a little more of an angle when I'm coming in towards that moon, because I want it to look like it's glowing around the moon. Just a little bit on the top there. I want the sides and the edges to be fairly dark, so I'm going to stay more with the ink towards the edges of the card. I love these blending brushes. When I first saw them, when they came out, we've had them a couple of years now, I think. I thought they were sponges because they don't photograph as brushes.
Dude, yeah,
Don't,
I
right?
did too. Yeah.
But they are like these compact little brushes. You can see I move the bristles on the side there. And they give you such a smooth blend just by circling, making my table messy. Good thing I have a paper towel handy. Get that off. There we go. So let me look. Kind of want maybe a little bit more just coming down around the bottom, maybe a little bit more along the top. Not too much. And I'm not pressing hard. You don't want to break your brush. Just letting the bristles do the work for you. There. And I think one more little bit on this section. And on the section. So it's pretty dark, right? But I love like the gradient of dark to light that you're getting there. So then holding my breath, making sure my t-shirt wasn't, oh, before I do this, actually, I'm ahead of myself. Okay, coming back on. All right, I'm not going to use the starry sky anymore, but I'm going to use my tuxedo black to put a couple of trees in place. I'm going to do this side and then take the moon mask off. So let's see, I'll do maybe one tall tree. Now I put that down there. Lots of ink on that. Sorry, it's bouncing a bit. So I want to make sure this is going to be straight. I don't want that bottom part of my tree on my card at all. So I'm coming down below the mask with that. Trying to make it straight as I can. Don't want a crooked tree in there. Okay, looks pretty good. And then I want another nice tall one over on the side of the moon. And I'll press, I should have brought back in my Stampin' Pierce mat for this, but if I hold it in place for a few seconds, it should work fairly well. rid of that extra ink on there. I'm going to put one more tree, but this one's going to cover up part of the moon. It's coming off beautifully, and it worked beautifully as a mask as well. So don't be scared to put it on your clothes and get rid of some of that extra adhesive. The other thing is, if you don't have that or you don't want to buy masking paper, then you can use the larger Post-it notes. And some Post-it notes you can get now actually are full adhesive sheets. So that would work. So I'm just pressing firmly and lifting up. So I have 3 of the big trees stamped. Before I take off this corner, I'm going to pull in the stamp with the 3 trees, because trees are not all the same size. And put some over here and a little lower as well. And then, oh, I like that. So I'm putting that off to the side. I'm going to cover that up for a second. I'm checking my fingers for ink before I touch my card. And then I'm holding my breath a little bit that this does not tear, because I adjusted the strength of the adhesive there. That worked. But I'm telling you, it'll tear your paper if you don't put it on your clothes first, at least twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the top of my card done, but I want to have it like look like some more hill and shading too. So I'm going to turn it sideways, and I'm not going to put any more ink on my brushes. I'm going to hold it in place, and starting from the bottom, just give a blue cast to that snow and leave lots of space at the top, because you want some white area to show that the snow is white. This is just going to look like a bit of a shadow. And I just start with the blue, balmy blue, and then I'm going to come in with the starry sky and do the same thing. Not pressing too hard, but get the corners. Come up a little. There, you just kind of follow the line that you had done in a general manner. So that's all we're going to do with the blending brushes. So I'm done with those. But this foreground looks a little bare. So I'm going to pull in some of the small trees and stamp a few times on the corners. And sometimes our photopolymer, especially with the black trees, you might see little spots come through. The stamp, or the trick that I learned this week, was use some of our black blends. Whoopsie. And you, that would have been a disaster, Janice. And then you can color those quickly in with a black marker. And our blends work great for that if you want them
That's
darker. And you
It can also be snow, though.
It could be snow, and you can use your white gel pen to put like layers of snow on there. I like that because we can see different heights of those trees. So there you go. That's all I'm going to do for the stamping, but it just builds up your scene a little bit to add some more trees to the corners. And so now I'm almost ready to put this together. The one thing that I did on my card that I haven't done here today is use the Wink of Stella pen and just dot little stars all over the top. So feel free to do that if you like. Put that
Carolyn,
aside.
did you flick that, or you actually touched it on the paper?
I actually touched it on the paper.
Okay.
Yeah, just really quick, like really, I'll do it.
Nice.
Yeah, I just have to reach behind me to grab it. Okay, so I better fold. I didn't score my paper yet, so I better fold it well. Start in the middle. There we go. I don't have my bone folder, so the back of my thumb will do. Pull in my Tombow adhesive. Oh, Janice, I didn't notice when we started. Look, how long have I been? Have it been too long?
No, it's good.
Okay. So this is my card panel, and then the next layer is just 1/8 of an inch larger. So that gives you 1/16 of an inch all the way around. Just not a lot to play with. So
I need
you need that Tombow glue so you can slide it into place, which makes it all look perfect. Here, I've got that done. I'm going to turn it over. Have you ever made one of these cards, Janice, where you blend the background?
I've done kind of a sunset one. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks really nice. I have to try that.
I love the Christmassy ones too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sunsets use like oranges and yellows and
Yes.
maybe a red. Yeah.
Yeah, I did one in the summer with the sailing set.
Okay. Oh, yes. That'd be beautiful. Okay. So that's on there.
Like it.
I'm going to pull in our little fawn that we made. And one thing that we're going to do for the fawn to show that she's kind of settled into the snow is use this light smoky slate and just draw underneath her to give a little shadow. And I'm going to sit her right about there. And pull in the light smoky slate. I think I'll use the wider end and just really quickly draw a little, like she's sitting in the snow there. Otherwise, she's just floating in the air, which is like, oh, she's magic. And then our little banner is going to come over here. And I'm going to use a couple of dimensionals to put that on. See how many will fit on the back, maybe 3. And we'll peel off the backing. Love dimensionals. Our double-sided sticky dimensionals. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'll let the white border stay all the way around like that.
That's cute.
And I'm going to take a couple of rhinestones, like all my tools. I didn't bring them all over today. So I'm just going to put a couple at the top, I think. Usually I say I put at least 3, but I think that's still cute with 2. And then the last thing to do is to stamp our sentiment with Starry Sky. And this one did come from the Very Best Occasions stamp set, which has 3 awesome sentiments for Christmas. And fingers crossed, this will be straight. I don't know. I need my grid paper, I think. Let's try it. If it doesn't look good, there are 2 sides to every piece of paper. Oh, it's not too bad.
Good for me.
Just stamp over there and close up my ink pad because if I don't, it's going to have ink everywhere. And then I'm going to flip that over and use Tombow to put it on my card on the inside. Put a little heart for some love in there. I picked that up from the demonstrator that I learned this technique from is from the United States, and her name is Michelle Zindorf, and she does that. She puts a little love in her card. So I want to thank her for sharing her technique of that ink blending and scene building. I think she's a master at that. I just love watching and learning from her and then showing you guys how to do that as well.
That's awesome. That looks great.
There's the card. And then let me turn around and find my Wink of Stella. I know where it is. Here it is. I got it. So you can, like Janice said, just flick this and you'll get some flickers on there. But all I did was really quickly kind of pounce it up and down to give some stars.
Good idea.
And of course,
really
stars.
Good.
Don't go over top of your
moon.
Trees or moon. And then, that'll just give it a little soft little flicker of stars in there in the sky.
Love it.
But I love that technique. I thought it was so cute, and the font looks so peaceful there.
Definitely.
So I hope you like this card.
It looks so much more difficult than when you showed it. It's not so bad.
I know, it's literally 2 colors and some masking, plus then your
Perfect.
black. But
Yeah.
yeah, because you get that kind of blending between the 2 colors, you think,
Yeah.
wow, that's difficult, but really it isn't. So
Beautiful.
super
Love it.
simple. I hope you try that. And that is my Peaceful Deer card for tonight. And are you ready to show yours, Janice?
I am ready. Yes.
All right, I'm going to find you, find your desk and spotlight you. There's always something else to read on these things. So I'm going to replace my spotlight for yours. Okay, let's see what you have in store.
Am I on camera?
You're there. I can see you.
Okay, good. So I use the Peaceful Deer set as well, but I also brought in the dies from this Perched in a Tree bundle. So it's called the Aspen Tree dies. Some of you might have gotten these through Celebration. They were one of the extra items that Stampin' Up added for Celebration, but you can get the stamp set and the dies and get them as a bundle as well. But I just use the dies in this one. And here's my card.
I love it.
Get it in view here. And I have all the pieces cut and ready. So this is the Aspen Tree dies. It actually comes with, it has 2 sheets. Yes, so this bottom one has a cutout for the bird, some leaves, some greenery, and then a branch and these branches here. So I use the big one. And I also use the timber embossing folder. So when I did my sample card, I embossed it, and then I used the blending brushes like Carolyn was just doing on my crumb cake ink pad and just went over it a little bit, just to accentuate some of that, the embossing on that. But when I did, I already die cut and embossed this piece for the card today, so it wouldn't take too long. So this time I decided to try putting ink directly on the folder, and it actually highlights it quite a bit more. I like the look of it.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So I just took the ink pad straight to the folder. I have my folder here. It's actually still dirty. I can show you.
So you just rubbed your ink pad across the top of your folder.
I did. I did it
Wow.
on the front side that has Stampin' Up. This is what I consider the front side.
Yeah.
So I put my ink pad, rubbed it over like this, and then put my paper in there, ran it through. And now all I have to do, you can still see ink on my embossing folder, but all I have to do is run this under water and it washes right off.
Our classic stamp pads are all water-based, so you can practically do anything with that and clean it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
it's
I'm
awesome.
glad. I had a
Yeah.
spill the other day all over my paper. Like, oh no, but it washed out, no problem. So
It's good.
So the pieces we have today, I have Mossy Meadow is the card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And I'm just going to use my bone folder. Take that one off. And then the layers are actually 3 pieces all the same size. So the size, the inside is 4 by 5 1/4. This layer is also 4 by 5 1/4. And then behind, this is a piece of paper from, oh my gosh. It's actually the poinsettia paper. It's Boughs of Holly, this one.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, so it's the back. So I was originally going to use the tree stamps and stamp a background full of trees. And I thought,
Oh, yeah.
good. So it's different trees, but I like the combination of that with I call them birch trees, even though it says aspen dies. So birch or aspen. So
They look like birch trees to me.
that's right. These 3 pieces are all 4 by 5 1/4. And so this one's run through. Now what I did to raise this up, and you've seen me do this if you watched our previous videos, I use the adhesive strips. Now this is a small piece because it was with a paper pumpkin kit, I believe. But I wanted it a little bit higher than dimensionals, and some of these sides are really thin, and these are actually a little bit higher than dimensionals. So I put them along the edges. And I found the top and bottom to be a little bit narrower.
Oh,
So
okay.
I just cut them. I just cut my strips and didn't go right in the very narrow section because I didn't want to risk it showing through. I'll put on this side. I haven't put any yet. There we go. Go down here. And I did also put a couple of little strips on a couple of the trees in the middle because I didn't want it to collapse in the center. I wanted you to be able to see that dimension when I tuck the little deer under there.
That's a good
So
idea.
there are a couple spots here that are pretty that give you enough space to do it. I just need to cut it a little bit shorter, I think. So right here, there's one. You can kind of fit them in between. I'm gonna put a little one there. Just to keep them from falling too flat. I can't get my nail under that one.
It's so pretty already.
And you don't even have to do the work with the designer paper.
Well,
So I actually did attach the designer paper first so that I could line it up properly. So let me do that before I put this layer on. And I don't want it upside down. And I think I'm gonna need probably a new glue because I think this one is, oh, there we go. We still have some.
I know if you get a good shake, usually you get extra.
That's right.
Ah,
Now I make sure my trees are not upside down. There we go. And that's where I pulled the Mossy Meadow from this one. It's this page has Mossy Meadow, Soft Succulent, and Evening Evergreen on it. And then I'm just going to backing off these adhesive strips. Should probably put another little one up in that corner. Let me do that. It's actually a really quick card once you stamp and color in the deer. And I use a similar technique to Carolyn when I colored my deer, except I use the bigger deer, but I used a similar blending technique. And I did one in, this one was in soft suede, and I'll show you the other two I colored. I was trying different colors to see what I liked the best. And I did one in crumb cake. And then I did one in, let's see, I think I did the dark crumb cake, but it was a little bit too dark for my liking. So then I used the remover blends, Carolyn, what's it called?
oh, that's
Color
soft
lift.
suede. Oh, the color lifter. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used it to lighten it up a little bit. So I'll show you that in a second. So
Nice.
you just have to line this up over your DSP.
We did have such a good color. The cinnamon cider was such a good color for deer and
It
foxes
was,
and
I
things like
know.
that.
Yeah, that's
We'll make it work.
we can layer it up. And so I already colored my deer. Carolyn mentioned those white spots on the deer. There's actually a stamp that'll put these little white spots. I
Oh,
just the white because I didn't color them.
thought they
But
were
if you,
tracks for the snow.
well, I guess, but
You're more
so
observant than I am, Janice.
I just didn't color. I tried to leave those white. So this one
Oh,
was
okay.
the light crumb cake.
Yeah.
And this one is the soft suede, and this one was the dark crumb cake. And then I used the color lifter to lighten it a little bit.
Oh,
So,
okay. So yeah.
I think this one maybe is the most, the light soft suede color is
Light soft
probably what,
suede.
yeah.
I don't
But
have the
once
soft
you tuck 'em
suede.
in-
Can you believe that?
oh, really?
Oh,
Once
I
you
was
tuck
like,
them in behind, you can't see the spots.
oh
Depending where you
yeah.
place. So I actually put a dimensional on the back because dimensionals are not quite as high as this. So it lifts them off the background, but not quite as high as the front. So
Oh, your
or the
foam
corner.
pieces they are a little thicker, aren't they? Those instead
They
of the
are a little bit.
when
So
you compare them to the dimensionals. Yeah.
yes, I'm using bones. The bones, I've heard people call them the edges around. I think I'm going to
Waste
use the
not, want not. That's what
That's
I say.
right. So I'm just
Oh,
putting that on the back part. And the head I tucked out around. Now, I didn't put a glue dot on this one. It kind of sticks up, but I kind of like it that way. So
oh
you
yeah.
definitely put a glue dot behind it just to attach it to the tree. But I don't know. I like the dimension. And I think with the dimensional in behind it, he's not going anywhere. So,
No, exactly.
and then I hope I didn't put a dimensional back there. I just tucked him back in. Now I left his feet out here because this is where I want to put my greeting, right at the very bottom.
Okay.
So he's kind of like he's standing on the greeting.
Cute.
So I'll put him there. His head's coming out here. There we go.
Oh, I love this card.
And I didn't know where to put the greeting at first because I was like, I don't want to put it over anything.
Yeah, it's hard to cover it up
Like,
sometimes.
it is, yeah. That's what I was thinking when you were doing yours too, Carolyn. I don't want to cover anything up.
Yeah, exactly. So I chose one of the smallest sentiments. Probably you too.
Yeah. So I just did Merry Christmas. I stamped it on a little. Oh, I forgot to mention that. This is just a little scrap, I call it, but it's between a half and 3/4, maybe 5/8 of an inch, I guess.
Yeah,
Just stamped it in the mossy meadow as well.
pretty.
And I have the bow, which is, I love this ribbon. This is the gold satin edged ribbon. It's so pretty.
Oh,
I believe it's sold
love
out
it.
now, or not sold out, back
A back
ordered.
order. Oh,
Yeah, I don't know because it's in the Christmas catalog, right? So I don't know if it'll be back.
if
I
I
can't
have it handy, I printed off the carryover list. I don't know if I have it in front of me or if it's in another room.
Yeah, it's so pretty. I really like it, but I
I think
don't
it's in
know.
another room.
Sometimes get those ribbons carrying over. So.
I love anything that sparkles and glitters. That's me.
Oh, me
Like
too.
I will buy anything that has glitter or glitz or satiny, shimmery, everything. If you know me, that's true.
Bling.
Yeah, I've never
I
bought
love the
any.
bling too.
I've never bought a dragonfly. I've never bought a bumblebee. That's not me, but it is for some people. So you just have to buy what you like. But I love that ribbon too.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I just needed a little something, so I added this up in the corner, but the colors kind of blend and gives it a little bit of a pop.
Love
and
it.
I thought rhinestones on the trees might not be great, and a wink of Stella. Well, I didn't want a sparkly deer, so
That's true.
the inside
like
on this one, I just wishing you a wonderful year and friendships, dear. And then I just put the trees down in the corner. That was in Mossy Meadow too, so I can do that quickly for you.
Absolutely. I do love Mossy Meadow as a green.
It is a very nice green. I like it too.
And if anyone's looking for it, it's in our neutrals kind of family. So we have regals and brights and subtles and neutrals. So this green is considered a neutral.
Now I made a mess here. I'm going to wipe it off because otherwise it's going to be all over my card. And here's my chamois. I didn't bring a paper towel with me, but I'm going to wipe that off because I didn't take the time to get a smaller block. So there we go.
So pretty already.
Another tree. And as Carolyn said, we use the Stampin' Pierce mat underneath because they're photopolymer. So make sure you get a clean image from those. I had to dab my thumb in it while I was closing. I
Wipe it in your jeans.
can't-
I've got like so many
Yeah,
ink spots on the
I
side
know.
of my jeans.
Can't stamp without getting ink all over my fingers. Usually I wear black pants when I'm stamping, so I can just wipe it in my pants and then it washes out, but you don't see it.
Yeah, we also have aprons that we, sometimes wear when we're doing workshops, right?
Yes, I did wear it at one of my workshops, but it was kind of warm actually. So
Yeah, they can be.
yeah,
They're kind of thick.
but I wouldn't wear it in my house stamping. That
No,
would just look weird. Although you wear an apron cooking, so why not,
that's
right?
true.
Says the one who doesn't really cook much. That's me. Aprons are not part of my regular attire.
I didn't cook much this week. Oh,
Easy
it's
start,
gorgeous.
quick and easy.
Yeah, like you said about mine, it looks more complicated
Yeah,
because it's so
but
beautiful,
yeah,
but it's not so bad. So yeah,
not
anybody
at
can
all.
do
Yeah,
that for sure
definitely.
with the right tools. So pretty, Janice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, there's something at the top. So I'll just, Zoom, I'm still learning, everybody. Sorry about that. I'm just
As we
trying
both are.
to,
We're still
I
trying to
know.
figure get us both on the screen at the same time. So maybe by
Won't
next episode, Carolyn will have it figured out.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we want to thank everybody for coming and joining us today. And if anyone has any questions, reach out and let us know. And you can find me on Facebook at stamping.cards or on YouTube at stamping.dot. Cards with Carolyn and Janice. Go ahead with yours.
I'm on Facebook as JT Stamps, and on YouTube, it's also JT Stamps - Janice Thompson. So either way, you should find me.
Yeah. So that's perfect. Thanks for joining in with us, everyone. And we'll see you
Yes.
next time in episode 5. Bye now.
Excellent. Thanks, Carolyn. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Janice. See you soon.